13.2 is a pretty massive patch with lots of meta-shifting implications, so let's get you guys set up with the best solo carries, 3 for every single role that have incredible strength for the current meta. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. Jax has burst onto the scene and is now a premier solo queue carry as a result of his 13.1 mini rework. The versatility Jax now brings makes him such a reliable pick for most games. We noted in our last tier list update that there could be some viability to AP builds on Jax, and they have been picking up a lot of traction since then. Nashers and Zhonya's are becoming very popular core items on Jax and are performing exceptionally well too. The fact Jax can now build AD or AP depending on what his team needs feels really nice. Jace, coming off his massive buffs from 13.1, is one matchup giving many Jax players issues, so he's a good ban to consider. Jax is a champion who thrives off item spikes and becomes a monster with 2 completed items, so farming well and hitting that spike consistently is a good win condition to play for. Rune Page for Jax is lethal tempo with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Roll with Bone Plating and Unflinching for secondaries. One top laner who remains consistently strong and well worth adding to your champion pool is Shen. We're actually seeing some new tech emerge for Shen this patch as Radiant Virtue is becoming more popular and has been outperforming Heartsteel. It's actually more of a supportive build in general, with Redemption as the second purchase. When it comes down to that raw solo carry power, rushing Heartsteel is still the more optimal choice. With that said, if you find yourself in a situation where you fall behind early and won't be able to influence the game on your own, going more supportive with Radiant and Redemption is a great idea. Matchups for Shen are pretty solid right now. He's a good answer to nullify Jax, but does struggle more into Mordekaiser, so he's a good ban. Maximizing the power of your global impact is key to finding the most success on Shen. Being aware of objective timers and splitting on the side of the map furthest from the objective well before it spawns can lead to easy 5v4s for your team. Runes for Shen consist of Grasp with Shield Bash, Second Wind, and Revitalize. Grab Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter for secondaries. Taking home the third solo carry spot for top lane is going to be Darius. When it comes down to a strong skirmishing top laner, there are few who can match what Darius brings. Level 6 with both summoner spells and ultimate available, Darius has one of the best 2v2s for any top laner. Level 2 all-in power is equally as impressive and something you need to be taking advantage of to see max success. You should always be laser focused on that first melee minion of the second wave, because once you kill it, you pop level 2 and can chase the enemy down with Ghost if they're still level 1. Matchup wise for Darius, Jace and Gangplank are 2 meta picks that are more difficult to play into, so either is a good ban. Core build is a Stride or Trinity Force Rush into Death Stance second and Deadman's or Force of Nature third. For runes, grab Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Nimbus Cloak and Celerity are great for secondaries. So many top tier junglers have been nerfed for 13.2, which allows for Elise to rise up and join the top 3. If you're looking for a jungler who can exert an immense amount of early game pressure, there are few better options than Elise, especially with Lee Sin and Hecarim in weaker states. If you want that dominant early game pick, Elise is the go-to. A trend we are noticing over in Korea is that players are really liking Press the Attack instead of Electro or Dark Harvest as Elise's keystone. When you have these AP bruiser champions heavily prioritized in meta, bursting them in one quick rotation is not all that practical. So by running Press the Attack, it helps to finish off targets due to the increased damage amp. The best jungle ban for Elise is Zac, as his passive and ability to stack magic resist puts you on a short leash. Map awareness is important for every jungler, but even more so for Elise due to her incredible dive power. As you're clearing, constantly be scoping out potential gank opportunities and take advantage of Elise's potent dive power. The core build for Elise revolves around a Night Harvester Rush, followed by Shadow Flame second and Zhonya's third. Maokai and Udyr are both being hit with direct nerfs this patch, but one jungler equally as strong that walks away unscathed is Zac. Zac will be without question the best solo queue tank for 13.2. Demonic nerfs will hurt Zac a little, but unlike Udyr and Maokai, Zac was not a champion rushing Demonic, so it won't hurt him nearly as much. With the recent nerfs to Jacques, Radiant Virtue has taken over as Zac's most optimal mythic item. Radiant works so well with how Zac wants to play, as he dives in and provides his team with a ton of bonus stats to secure teamfight wins much easier. With AP junglers being so popular in the current meta, Zac having the luxury of synergizing so well with Spirit Visage makes him even more powerful. The complete core build is Radiant into Sunfire second and Demonic Embrace or Spirit Visage third. Instead of banning out a jungler when playing Zac, it's often best to prioritize your ban on a strong peel support like Lulu or Janna, as they can nullify your engage power quite hard. You want to be rushing 3 points in E as quick as possible with Zac. Zac's gank power rises drastically with more points in E as the range increases by a ton, so being proficient with your early clear is very important. Keystone rune for Zac is Aftershock, followed by Font of Life, Conditioning, and Revitalize. Best secondaries are Triumph and Tenacity. The current jungle meta is absolutely dominated by AP junglers, and our third to round out the top 3 is Fiddlesticks. Season 13 is looking amazing for Fiddle, as the jungle changes have been to his liking. Scuttle Crab spawn time being pushed back means Fiddle can full clear if he wants, and accelerate to that level 6 spike way more consistently. Setting up in Fog of War and picking out enemies when they least expect it is how you're going to have max success with Fiddle. Just the threat of a Fiddle ultimate forces the enemy team to play so much more reserved, and if they don't, it's so easy to punish. Try to arrive at objectives about 1 minute before they spawn and catch the enemy team off guard as they walk in for wards. Our recommended ban for Fiddle is Zac, as his ability to build Spirit Visage and be a strong disruptor in fights is not ideal for Fiddle to play into. For the core build, it's a Rocket Belt Rush into Zanya 2nd and Shadow Flame or Void Staff 3rd. First Strike is the Keystone rune with perfect timing, Futures Market, and Cosmic Insight. Grab Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter for secondaries. Mid laners that can abuse the item combo of Rod and Seraphs have become so much stronger, and Anivia is in such a powerful spot. With Kassadin nerfed for 13.2, we'll go as far as saying Anivia is now the best mid laner for solo queue. Cass was literally the only matchup Anivia had a negative win rate against in 13.1, so she'll be even more deadly in 13.2. Despite Cass nerfs, we would still recommend him as one of the better bans for Anivia. Win condition for Anivia is easier said than done, but completing Rod and Archangels as fast as possible is key. Doing everything in your power to stay even throughout the first few levels and reaching level 6 without dying is very important. Run Teleport in more difficult lanes if you have to, and use it early on to avoid falling behind. The rune page for Anivia is Electrocute with Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter, Roll with Presence of Mind, and Coup de Grace for secondaries. Another incredibly strong mid laner off the back of the Rod and Archangels buffs is Cassiopeia. The fact Seraphs now provides you with a shield amplifies Cassio's dueling power drastically. Extra durability is so important for a champion like Cass, who needs to be up close and personal to deal the brunt of her damage. 3-item core of Rod, Archangels, and Rylots is absolutely godlike right now. One of the better bans for Cass is actually Anivia, as her zone control can be very difficult to maneuver around, especially if you don't have flash available. Win condition for Cassio is very similar to that of Anivia's. Cass scales super hard into the mid game and is a monster on that 2-item spike, so being consistent with your farm is the best way to guarantee success on the champ. Pick up Conqueror as the keystone with Presence of Mind, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Mana Flow and Transcendence work best for secondaries. This is the first time in a long while we are seeing mages on top of the mid lane meta, and Lux is one of the most underrated at the moment. The Horizon focus buffs from 13.1 are really flying under the radar, as the item is outperforming Shadow Flame now. In 12.23, Shadow and Horizon had near identical win rates on Lux, but after the Horizon buffs, it's winning about 2% more. With shorter ranged mages like Ryze, Anivia, and Victor being played a lot in meta, Lux fits in super well. Lux's long-range poke and pick power does a really good job at countering those champs. Kassadin and Yasuo are two of the more difficult matchups for Lux, so either is a good ban option. Win condition for Lux is to play off her strong pick power. Think of her like a ranged assassin. Setting up in Fog of War and catching enemies as they walk into choke points is how you'll find the most success on Lux. Core build for Lux is a Luden's Rush into Horizon Focus 2nd and Rabadon's 3rd. Run Comet as the keystone and dip into Domination for secondaries, picking up Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter. Moving down to the bot lane, making her first appearance in the top 3 in over a year is Xayah. 13.1 buffs have been super good for Xayah, and she has leapfrogged past the rest of the competition as a result. It will be really interesting to see how the 13.2 ADC item changes affect Xayah, because Essence Reaver is being buffed, and it's actually been quite underrated on Xayah even before the changes. A core build of Gale Force into Essence Reaver and Quick Blades is definitely one to watch that we expect to become really strong. A lot more upfront damage with this build as opposed to going Phantom Dancer, so it's easier to make an impact if you're not the best mechanical player. Our recommended ADC ban for Xayah is Caitlyn, as her ranged advantage can be difficult to play around. Win condition for Xayah is to properly adjust your playstyle based on ultimate availability. Xayah R is such a broken tool if used well, but when it's down, the champion is super vulnerable. Rune Page is lethal tempo with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Coup de Grace. Pick up Free Boots and Biscuits for secondaries. As if Twitch wasn't already one of the best solo queue ADCs, he's becoming even stronger for 13.2. Riot is buffing Blade of the Ruined King, and Twitch is one of the few ADCs who can abuse the item as a rush. Those pick plays from stealth are going to be even more lethal moving forward. Speaking of pick plays, the unique element Twitch brings with his stealth is something that sets him apart from other ADCs. Being proactive and looking for opportunities to catch enemy squishies out of position is vital in maximizing success with Twitch. Hitting your blade spike without falling behind is very important for Twitch, so banning a strong early game ADC like Tristana or Draven is a good idea. The core build for Twitch is a Blade Rush into Kraken 2nd and Hurricane 3rd. If your team is really lacking magic damage, going Nashers with Crown and Rabadons is completely viable too. Keystone when running the AD Twitch build will be Lethal Tempo, while Hail of Blades is the better alternative if opting for the AP build. Rounding out the top 3 for ADC in 13.2 is going to be Samira. Samira has been an incredible solo carry to start Season 13, and she may become even more deadly in 13.2. We're going to be keeping a close eye on the power of Infinity Edge as a second purchase this patch. If you guys didn't watch the tier list or haven't read the patch notes yet, Infinity Edge's passive has been changed, so it's now purchasable as a second item. For an ADC like Samira who wants to stack AD more than attack speed, building Infinity Edge second has a lot of potential. Of course, we'll have to see how everything shapes out as the patch progresses, but it's definitely something to watch out for in 13.2. A sample core, for example, will consist of Shield Bow into Infinity Edge and then Bloodthirster third. Worth noting as well is that Bloodthirster is being buffed, and Samira has good potential with the item. The only matchup Samira players have been losing to over the past patch is Xayah, so it's a good ban to consider. Win condition for Samira is to be proactive off early game openings. Especially at level 6, Samira has an incredible skirmish, so playing off windows where the enemy wastes key cooldowns is important. Rune page for Samira consists of Conquer as the keystone, and you'll run Domination for secondaries with Taste of Blood and Treasure Hunter. With Heimer nerfed for 13.2, a newcomer in the top 3 for support is going to be Sona. The Archangel's buffs have provided Sona with a nice spike in power, and Rod of Ages is even quite underrated as a rush item now too. If we're talking pure solo carry, then going Rod into Archangels will give you the greatest ability to impact games on your own with Sona. In games where you end up grabbing a few early kills and have the extra gold income, then going for Rod is a great idea. If you're behind or are even in lane but the rest of the map is doing really well, grabbing Moonstone to buff your team up will be the better option. Using your ban on a hook support like Blitz or Nautilus is good value for Sona. Scaling is the name of the game with Sona, as her early game can be quite vulnerable depending on the matchup. The longer the game lasts, the greater chance of winning with Sona, so being able to make your way out of lane unscathed is key. For runes, roll with Aerie followed by Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Gathering Storm. Conditioning and Revitalize are optimal secondaries. One of the best champions you can play into Sona, along with many other enchanters and our number 2 solo carry support of the patch, is Blitzcrank. With ADC items being buffed for 13.2, playing a support like Blitz who can easily accelerate his carry into their item spikes is huge. Snowballing from bot lane is going to become even more insane this patch, which will give Blitz a ton of power. Brush control is a tactic you see used a lot in the higher elos, but something low elo supports tend to mess up. The threat of Blitz hook is so much stronger when used from Fog of War, so dipping in and out of side lane brush and at least forcing a ward of the enemy is important to play towards. If the enemy wards the side brush, they no longer have one for the river, which makes your jungler's ganks way more likely to succeed. Banning out a strong melee support like a Mumu is good value for Blitz in 13.2. The core build is a Shurelya's Rush into Zeke second and Wardstone third. Run Glacial as the keystone with Hex Flash, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. Bone Plating and Unflinching are for secondaries. A Mumu has miraculously avoided nerfs for 13.2, so he will continue to be a top 3 solo queue support. With ADC item buffs, getting them ahead is going to be more valuable this patch, and Amumu can basically guarantee kills at level 6. Playing off R cooldown at level 6 is how you're going to win games on Amumu. Positioning in the side lane brush, waiting for the enemy to miss position, and diving in with a Q into R combo is how you'll find those opportunities in most games. There's really not a meta support you desperately need to ban out as Amumu, so using your ban on a lesser played peel support like Janna is a good idea. Core build for Amumu is a Radiant Virtue Rush into Zanya's second and Wardstone third. Run Aftershock as the keystone in more volatile 2v2 lanes, whereas in easier matchups, you can get away with Glacial. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent Challenger players into Elo Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So there you have it guys, the 3 best solo carries for every role in 13.2. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.